The moon called Ellerin hung like a pearl against the belly of its gas giant, wrapped in silver dust and ancient stone. Beneath its fractured surface, in the crater walls of Terran Vale, the colony glowed softly in the dark, domed habitats strung together like luminous beads, their light warm against the cold void above. The Valari had lived here for 3 generations. Tall and slender, their translucent skin shimmered faintly in the artificial twilight, and their eyes, wide, bioluminescent, shifting between amber and violet, saw deeper into shadow than most species could dream. They spoke in voices layered with harmonic tones, words that resonated in the chest as much as the ear. They were miners, engineers, artists, peaceful people, pragmatic people. They harvested solnite ore from the deep veins beneath the moon's crust, a rare element that burned clean and cold, perfect for the energy cores that powered ships across 100 systems. The work was hard, but honest. The Valari asked for little and gave much. They were not warriors. And so when the sky tore open, they had no answer. It began with silence, the kind of silence that presses against your skull. The sensor arrays went dark first, just a flicker, then nothing. Ariane Tal, the colony administrator, stood in the command dome reviewing supply manifests when the lights stuttered. She looked up, her bioluminescent eyes flaring pale green in confusion. Then the first impact hit. The dome shuddered. Dust rained from the ceiling. Alarms shrieked across every frequency. Shrill, discordant, drowning out the harmonic speech of her people as they scrambled in panic. Through the transparent aluminum viewport, Ariane saw them, dozens of ships, emerging from the shadow of the gas giant like scavengers from a carcass. Crude, mismatched hulls, patchwork armor, gun ports bristling like infected wounds. Pirates! The bombardment was immediate and merciless. Surface batteries exploded in gouts of white flame. Communication towers collapsed, their twisted frames folding like broken fingers. Outer domes ruptured, air screaming out into vacuum, lives snuffed in an instant. The Valari fled through tunnels into shelters, their voices rising in harmonic distress calls that no one beyond Ellerin could hear. Ariane's hands trembled as she rerouted power to the emergency relay. The main transmitter was gone. The backup was failing. But there, buried in the mining network's old infrastructure, was a single ancient beacon, a relic from the first surveys. Weak, unstable, but it might carry a signal. She keyed in the distress protocol, her fingers slipping on the console as another explosion rocked the dome. Her voice cracked as she spoke into the transmitter, knowing it might reach no one, knowing it might be her last act. "This is Terran Vale Colony on Ellerin. We are under attack. We have no defenses. Please, if anyone can hear this, please help us." She hit send. The signal crawled out into the void, a ghost of a whisper tumbling through the dark between stars. The signal traveled for hours. It skipped across relay beacons, bounced through automated stations, degraded and nearly lost a dozen times before it finally reached Sentinel-9, a human listening post on the edge of explored space. The technician on duty, a young woman named Sarah, almost missed it. Just a flicker on her secondary monitor. A fragment of alien speech, distorted and desperate. She isolated it, cleaned it up, and froze. "Commander Varric, you need to hear this." Commander Hale Varric was a man built from angles and patience. He listened to the message 3 times, his jaw tight, his eyes unreadable. When it finished, he stared at the waveform display for a long moment. "Coordinates?" he asked. "Ellerin, mining moon. Civilian population about 800, no military presence. Time to jump?" 43 minutes. The Vanguard Solace is on standby." Varric nodded once. "Send the response." Sarah's fingers danced across the console. She routed the transmission back through the same fragile network, amplified it as much as she dared, and hit send. 4 words. Clear, cold, certain. "We are sending a ship." On Ellerin, in the shattered remains of the command dome, Ariane heard the response through the static. She stared at the console, her bioluminescent eyes flickering from violet to amber and back again. One ship? Against dozens? Around her, the other survivors exchanged uncertain glances. The humans were a distant species, known mostly through trade records and rumors. Some said they were cunning, others said they were dangerous. No one really knew. What if they were worse than the pirates? But there was no choice now. The message had been sent. The reply had come. All they could do was wait. Time moved like cold honey. The pirates ransacked the outer domes, cracking open storage vaults and hauling away crates of solnite ore. Some of the Volari had fled into the deep tunnels, where the air was thin and the stone pressed close. Others huddled in the command dome, listening to the distant rumble of explosions, watching the stars through cracked viewports. Arian stood at the window, her hands pressed against the cool surface. She looked up at the gas giant, at the swirl of clouds and storms that had hung over her home for her entire life. Somewhere out there, beyond the light, a ship was coming. If it came at all. 45 minutes, the humans had said. 45 minutes felt like an eternity. And then the sky opened. It was soundless at first, just a ripple in the fabric of space, a shimmer like heat rising from stone. The stars bent inward, twisted and folded. The Volari in the dome gasped, their harmonic voices rising in a chord of fear and awe. And then it was there, the Vanguard Solace, black as the void, angular and sleek, its hull lined with sharp edges and recessed weapon ports. It hung above the colony like a predator caught mid-strike, motionless, silent, utterly alien in its stillness. For one long, breathless second, nothing happened. Then the ship spoke, not with words, with fire. The railgun ignited. A deep, resonant boom rolled across the thin atmosphere, felt as much as heard, a sound that rattled teeth and bone. Depleted uranium rods screamed across the sky, leaving ion trails like burning scars against the dark. They moved faster than thought, faster than fear. 5 pirate ships disintegrated before the Volari even understood what they were seeing. Explosions blossomed in silence, white-hot cores wrapped in expanding shells of debris, hulls split, engines died. Bodies tumbled into the void. The remaining pirates scattered, firing wildly in every direction. Plasma bolts and kinetic slugs hammered toward the Vanguard Solace and met an invisible wall. The ship's shielding flared, bright and brief, deflecting every shot. Autonomous mines deployed in a silent cascade, drifting outward like seeds on the wind. When the pirates flew too close, the mines detonated. Brilliant blossoms of light, beautiful and terrible. Within 6 minutes, the battle was over. The Vanguard Solace had not moved, had not flinched. It floated above the wreckage like a monument to something the Volari could not name. Power, yes, but something else too. Certainty. The Volari emerged slowly from their shelters, staring at the sky. Glowing debris drifted like embers, casting flickering shadows across the crater walls. The pirate fleet was gone, obliterated, erased, and the human ship still hovered, silent and serene. Fear rippled through the survivors. Whispers in harmonic tones, low and trembling. What kind of species sends a single ship to do this? What kind of species answers a distress call with such overwhelming violence? Some of the Volari retreated back into the tunnels. Others stood frozen, waiting for the inevitable, for soldiers to descend, for chains, for conquest. That was how power worked, wasn't it? You called for help, and help came with a price. Arian stood at the viewport, her bioluminescent eyes dim with exhaustion. She watched the black ship and wondered if she had doomed them all. Then the ship descended. Its landing was gentle, thrusters flaring soft and blue, the hull settling onto the cratered surface with barely a tremor. The cargo ramp extended, and figures emerged. Not soldiers. Humans in white and silver relief suits, their movements careful and deliberate. They carried no weapons. Instead, they deployed crawler trucks loaded with crates, food, medical supplies, construction drones. Engineers in padded vests began assessing structural damage to the nearest dome. Medics moved toward the survivors, their hands raised in a universal gesture of peace. At the front of the group, a woman removed her helmet. Captain Mara Keen was younger than Arian expected, with short dark hair and eyes that crinkled at the corners when she smiled. She approached the command dome slowly, hands open, her expression calm and warm. When she spoke, her voice was steady, kind. "You called for help," she said. "We came." The Volari stared at her in stunned silence. They had expected domination. They found empathy. Over the following days, the humans worked. They rebuilt power grids, patched hull breaches, cleared debris. They set up field hospitals and treated the wounded with quiet efficiency. They asked for nothing, no payment, no trade agreements, no territorial concessions. When the Volari tried to offer solnite ore in gratitude, Captain Keen politely declined. "We didn't come here for payment," she said. "We came because you needed us." The Volari didn't understand. In their experience, power always demanded something. But the humans simply smiled, finished their work, and prepared to leave. On the final day, Captain Keen left a crate in the command dome. Arian opened it carefully, her bioluminescent eyes flaring wide. Inside were fusion seed generators, compact, elegant, far beyond anything the Volari had ever seen. Clean energy for decades, maybe centuries. Resting on top was a small engraved plaque, its letters etched in flowing script. From the people of Earth, may your light never go dark again. Arian's hands trembled as she read it. Around her, the other Volari gathered, their harmonic voices rising in a soft, reverent chord. The Vanguard Solace lifted off at dawn, its black hull catching the pale light of the gas giant. The Volari stood outside their repaired domes, watching in silence as the ship climbed toward the stars. At the edge of the atmosphere, it paused, just for a moment. Then space folded, the stars twisted, and the ship was gone. Arian sat in the command dome, staring at the viewport. She activated the communication relay, the new one the humans had installed, and recorded a message. Her voice was steady, layered with harmonics of gratitude and wonder. To those who came across the stars, she began, we thought your ship would bring death. Instead, it brought grace. The light of your world has reached ours, and we will remember. She sent the message out into the void, knowing it would take days to reach Sentinel-9. But she also knew with absolute certainty that it would be heard. Because that was what humans did. They listened, they came, and they cared.